your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Today we are doing just a little brief pop-up. We want to keep this discussion going as we strive to formulate strategies centered around our people doing the things necessary for our own survival in the country that our ancestors built and that we suffered through. Make sure y'all hit that like button, family. Share this out. We are just having a conversation. I woke up to some tweets today, and I'm not like trying to put nobody on blast or nothing. It's not about that. But we want to have a conversation because our people misunderstand a lot of stuff, right? You got a lot of our people that misunderstand reparations, for instance. Peace, brother Corey, BTP mods on deck. You got a lot of our people that misunderstand reparations, for instance, right? And with all things, we study to show ourselves approved. We study to show ourselves approved. That's a old saying right there. We, over the past few nights, have been speaking about return home strategy. And when I say return home, I mean return back to the South where our families are from. Our families are from there. They were forced out of the South because of the horrors that were inflicted upon us. And we relocated north. We relocated to the Midwest. We relocated to California. We are not really rooted in those places. If you think about it, we are two generations. My mother moved to New York City with her mother and the rest of the family when she was 9. My mother. So I'm really just a second generation New Yorker, if you think about it. But my roots on both sides of my family is in South Carolina. Peace, Riri, Taiwan Sessions, Sister Juanita. I see y'all in the chat. Shout out to the fam. I seen some tweets that I took it. I wasn't offended, right? Peace, brother Cato. I wasn't offended, but I did take offense, if that makes any sense. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I wasn't personally offended. I just took offense because I got the impression, and maybe it could just be me reading too much into it, that we just jumped into this thing. That we didn't do any homework or we didn't do any research, and we're just flying off the cuff with whatever strategy we think might work. No, we've discussed this already, the brothers and I. Remember, we incorporated the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen last May. All of this was a part of the discussion, resurrecting the freedmen, resurrecting the ideals of our ancestors, connecting ourselves in the modern day back with the failed reconstruction efforts. So, yeah, my mother is still in New York. My father is still in New York. That's a question I got in the chat. She says she's not moving back down south. Her memories of the South. You got to think about it. You're young, leaving the South in the 60s. Think about that for a minute. You're leaving the South in the 60s to come to a place like New York, where it just seems like the whole universe is right in the place where you're at. Of course, your mind state is not gonna be, I want to go back south. So my mother still basically holds that mindset. And we may find a lot of elders that hold that mindset. But I'm gonna get into some things though. on this live. I think the brothers are going to join me in a few as well. Yeah, this is let me pull this up. Let me pull Cato Amir's comment up. He said the guy says that Blow stole his idea. No, that's not who I'm referencing, but I want to reference him. I want to bring light to that real quick. This guy, there's a guy that makes a claim that Blow stole his idea. Who knows if it's true or not? I don't know. All I know is I have a book with a strategy that's sound. That's it. It's not talking about taking states and renaming them Africa or Afralatia, etc. If you feel that your idea is in line with that idea, whether you thought is stolen or not, the best thing that we can do is work together and come up with the consensus on how we are to move forward. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. Everybody is looking at the man. It reminds me of this, they say it's a Chinese proverb. Some I've seen say it's an African proverb. They say a master was speaking to a group of his students, and he's showing them a message about the moon, and he's breaking down this message. And instead of looking at the moon, they just keep looking at his finger, wherever his finger is going. And he's giving them the message about the moon. Like, we got to get out of this personality worship, family. It's too much of that. And I understand, this is a part of being us in America. We had to look up to celebrities over the past several decades. They represented aspiration. They have voices when we were voiceless for the most part. So I understand that, but this is a different crop of thinkers right now. This is a different crop of thinkers. So we place so much emphasis on the individual that we fail to look at the plan. So, on the tweet, like I said, I'm not gonna blow the brother up because I'm not trying to go at the brother like that or anybody, because I clicked to see who all click like on the tweet. And I'm like, our lives are no better in these places that we probably don't want to leave. And even if your life is individually, you're thinking selfishly. Now, you might think, well, I'm good. I don't have to move nowhere. Then how are you thinking politically? I'm just saying. So, several claims were made about camping and all of that type of stuff. And we gotta, Brother Cato has been in the chat, and I disagree with some of the things that Cato has said on Twitter, and I've addressed them head on. I'm gonna address you head on. But for the most part, Brother Cato has been going in. Every time we do these sessions, he goes in and he says things like, people got to stop thinking of the South as just this rural place full of backwoods and, I guess, swamp water. I just threw that one in there, right? So I want to read from page 44 of Blow's book. I just want to read from this book, right? And we're calling it a return home. We're not calling it. We don't want to call it reverse migration. We really don't like that terminology, but it is the fitting terminology, or standard terminology, I should say, for what the Charles Blow or anybody who has this idea is implying. So on page 44, he says, in point of fact, my reverse migration argument targets only 9 of the states that are included in the census count: Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. Specifically, I suggest gravitating to the major cities, arranged like jewels on a chain, which dot the Interstate 20, Interstate 95 corridor from Shreveport, Louisiana to Wilmington, Delaware. They include Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, about 90 miles north of I-20, Richmond, Virginia, Washington, D.C., preferably in the Maryland suburbs, because the district, unfortunately, is not a state and thus fields no senators, and Baltimore, Maryland. So he's not saying move to the swamps. He's not saying that. Saying like move to these major cities. Now, I would say, if I had to give pushback to that, I would say that we would need to start developing ourselves, using his term, strategically arrayed in those states, because of the, for lack of a better term, electoral college in those states, the state's legislatures, and how they gerrymander the districts, where they bottle up all the black people in one or two or maybe three districts, while they have 15 districts or however many in a particular state or even a particular city to draw their political power from. You know, that's a whole states' rights issue that I feel needs to be addressed as well. The Supreme Court has basically shot down attempts at challenging gerrymandering. I know in North Carolina, I read an article, I believe it was last year. So, you know, let me post this comment up. From here to equality is the goal, and the devil, you know, is the path. And you know, that's a good way to look at it. We're not saying that, we big up from here to equality all the time, but we're not right. We're not Sandy Darity and Kirsten Mullins worshipers. We big up the work and the research. We look beyond the personalities, and we got to get out of that. So the claim and the idea that we are a wealthless group, I'm gonna pull up some stuff, and I understand that. I understand that, because it is the same exact questions that we all should have. It is the first question that popped in my head when I seen the first interview, and I was like, all right, well, let me get the book so I can have a better understanding, which is why I ordered the book. So, and I got a much better understanding. Yeah, that's a fact. We are a wealthless group in the United States of America. The projections show that by 2053, we all know this. I'm preaching to the choir right now. By 2053, the middle black family will have zero wealth. It's about what, 30 years from now, right? Go back to what Charles Blow said in the interview. About 30 years from now, the Hispanic population will double the African American population. That the Asians 30 years from now will surpass us in population. The other night, before we did the interview, a week ago, I pulled up the statistics for South Carolina, and it showed that growth of whites and Hispanics went up in the state, but that black growth is steady. It said, in fact, 30 years from now, this 30-year projection just keeps popping up. 30 years from now, the black growth rate in North Carolina won't be much different than what it is today. Fam, this isn't an overnight plan. This is something that's going to take about 20 years. It's going to take about 20 years. reparations is on the table. As a reparationist, when I seen the plan and understood that if we could control 12 Senate seats out of these 9 states, reparations is doable. The senator out of Illinois said that, I forget her name, I forgot it on the last program, said that if Biden didn't pass the bill that the AAPI wanted, and the Asian hate crime bill and whatever else they want, that she wouldn't vote to nominate any of Biden's choices, any of his picks. Think about what Blow said in the interview. What are you going to do when these majority Hispanic places represent large portions of the Senate or the House? You think they're going to care about us? Listen to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Just listen to her. Flip, I might pull that up. Yes, Duckworth, Tammy Duckworth. And Macy Hirono came right behind her and said, I'm rolling with Duckworth. Cato said we need to ban abortion. Hey, I agree with you. I agree with you. 19 million of us have been aborted since 1973. 19 million. In New York State, in New York City, I don't even think this is the state. In 2012 and 2013, there were more black babies aborted than there was live births. We are getting beat down from every angle. Our population is dwindling. We're thinning out, and we're thinned out with our political power all over the country. I think that it is an excellent idea for us to repopulate these southern states from which our families come from and become a singular political majority in these states, meaning our vote carries every election in those states, which eventually will drastically affect the general election. Like, this is not rocket science, and I know people are attached to space. You know, so and PDM1 said, I'll be dead or damn near dead in 20 years. I got to do what needs to be done today. And, you know, I'm hoping that's in reference to what I'm speaking to, because the seeds we plant today will be trees in 20 years. Like, we got to think on that level. Like, we're in the end game right now, to use a Marvel movie reference. We are being Thanos snapped away. Abortion, incarceration, homicide. I mean, name it. You name it. We're being wiped away. Homosexuality, because, like, we got to be honest. A man and a man can't produce babies. A woman and a woman can't produce babies. And yet our population numbers are dwindling. And everybody else's is rising. In California, non-white Hispanics have surpassed. Did I pull that up? Non-white Hispanics have surpassed. Let me see if I pulled that up. I thought I pulled it up. But non-white Hispanics have surpassed the white population there. Our numbers in California are dismal. I don't believe that there's a need to stay there anymore. What are we attaching ourselves to? I'm from New York. Over the past year, I realized that I'm not a New Yorker. I'm just from that place. I was born there. I'm a descendant of freedmen in America. That's what I am. I have the mannerisms of a person from New York. I have the talk, the accent, etc., because that's the region that I was born in as a descendant of freedmen. But I'm not a New Yorker. Not in that sense. Not in that sense. I'm us.
Yeah, you're a descendant of the people who either fled or their parents fled to New York, escaping racial terror and violence and poverty that was inflicted through the system that was an extension of uh, chattel slavery.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, Brother Logic, you want to jump in?
Yo, yeah. So catch me up. I was running around, joining in late, man. What all did we cover so far?
Well, I just touched on, I brought up a tweet. I didn't name no names because we're not trying to like go at nobody like that. We're just trying to give a friendly admonishing of, basically you can't speak if you haven't done the research. And I just was breaking down like just simple stuff, things from out of the book. Like this, we ain't going to no camping sites. We talk about going to Atlanta, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, Charlotte, North Carolina, DC, and he even said preferably get out of DC and just move to Maryland, which to me made sense.
Yeah. So, and in regard to that, a lot of people need to understand just what makes sense, right? Get into the information and just focus on that in and of itself. If you understand and say, we're a wealthless group. So what does a wealthless person want? He wants to change that position to become of someone who can acquire wealth. So in that pursuit, you're going to try to do the things that are going to bring you closer to that goal. So why would you stay somewhere where the cost of living is higher, property taxes are higher, the cost of property is higher, the cost of land is higher, and it's more scarce? So if you are into changing that position, you would go to where the cost of living is lower, property is cheaper and more available, land is cheaper and more available, right? So that is just one aspect of it. It only makes sense. A wealthless group has nothing tying them down, so they have the ability to relocate, right? So it's not like they're going to be leaving massive amounts of wealth somewhere where they like it's going to stop them from leaving. So that's not something that's going to hinder us from moving. And when people think about this returning home concept, think of it as a return home. Our roots, we originate from the southern states. Those are our states of origin as free men and women, right? Those are our states of origin. We are just returning home. And when you look at what comes with that, the possibilities, whatever you are currently doing in the North, you can do in the South. You understand? So when we think about it like this as well. So this is not something, we mentioned this the other night. We're not talking about going, everybody, let's go now. We are intelligent people. So you mean to tell me, right? You can't plan to relocate in the next 3 to 5 or 5 to 10 years. You can't come up with a 10-year plan to relocate down south. You can do anything you want to do. So you can plan to move within the next 5 to 10 years somewhere down south. And every, like I said, the destination state don't have to be the same for everyone. Everyone don't have to go to Mississippi. Everyone doesn't have to go to Maryland. You understand? And I mean, Virginia and whatnot. Everyone does not have to go to Georgia or Alabama or Louisiana. But we're going to locate and concentrate our numbers in these designation states that are ultimately our states of origin, concentrating political power. If you understand that, if you're a reparationist and you want reparations, you need to look at this as a ultimate strategy of getting closer to that goal. Look at the political power that comes with the strategy. Not only are we talking about if we can secure majorities in 6 states, that means we can influence or be the majority factor behind 12 senators. That's a lot of political pressure. Y'all, we've been in this space talking about politicians respond to pressure, not applause, right? So if we concentrate our numbers in the South, that's concentrating that pressure. You understand? Now what would reparations prospects look like with 12 reparationist senators that we've elected into office, right? With our majority. Now we're just not a tie-breaking voting block. We're a majority voting block. So now we don't have to, we control these states down here. So not only do we have the 12 senators, but we have hundreds and hundreds of electoral college votes that we're going to be the motivating factor behind. And not only that, we can have the possibility to elect 6 governors in these states. That is a lot of power, people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now, with the people, with the supply of the numbers, also comes the demand for more business. So the business opportunities will be there. For example, if 700,000 people relocate or return back to Mississippi, you still going to need people to do what? Your hair, you're still going to get your hair done. You're not going to stop doing that. So that's going to create a demand for more beauty salons. You're still going to get your hair cut. That's going to create a demand for more barbershops. You're still going to be going to the grocery stores. You're still going to be doing things, brothers and sisters. So if you're a nurse, there's more people that need medical attention. If you're a first responder, that's going to bring in the demand for more employment. So now you have to understand that. And then the entrepreneurial side of it as well. So our economic pursuit and our economic destiny is tied hand in hand with our political destiny. Without political power, our economic position hangs in the balance, and it's like a thread on fire. It's burning out. You understand? So we have to secure political power if we want to have an economic future in this country. If you can show me a political strategy that gives us more political power than us concentrating our numbers and strategically placing ourselves in the South, where the majority of our people already live in the South. About 44% of our people live outside of the South. So if we bring our people from the West and bring our people from the Midwest and the North, and we concentrate them in the South, if you can show me a political strategy that produces more political power on the local, state, and federal level, with producing governors, senators, and representatives, and influencing our ultimate agenda of reparations, show me that. Show me that plan, right? Y'all said that y'all wanted a transformative Black agenda. What's more transformative than this? What can produce more transformation in this? And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I haven't seen a plan or a strategy that is that has more potential to produce that type of power than this returning home, or that makes as much sense as the returning home to our families, working in conjunction with our brothers, sisters, and cousins, our real brothers, sisters, cousins. I'm not talking figuratively. I'm talking literally.
That's
our
right.
literal families. We've been talking about being a lineage-focused group, right? Our lineage goes back to the South. Our roots, our lineage roots, our bloodline roots go back to these southern states. So let's go home. Times have changed. This is not pre-civil rights era South. The people down South are our family members, 1. 2, they're not the people that you think they are. The people down South are not just a bunch of people that don't know how to do anything. There's much that we can learn from our brothers and sisters down South. You understand? And there's much that they can learn from us. Why wouldn't we want a situation where we come home and our brothers and sisters that have been here saying, hey, brothers and sisters, this is what y'all been missing from being out of town, being away from home for so long. This is what y'all been missing, the things that we've been doing your family been doing all your lives. And you say, damn, I needed that. I've been missing that. And then you can say, well, this is what we've learned. And when we've been up north and bring that together, you understand? Why wouldn't you want to mix that together to produce a dynamic, transformative future for our families and ourselves? You understand? So we have to look at this thing as the ultimate strategy for political power and economic security. And if you can come up with a program or a strategy better than that, please produce it so we can evaluate it, vet it, and get it to the people. So if you don't want this plan, before I pass the mic, this plan again does not call for everyone to come south, right? We need half of the 44% that currently live outside of the South to return home. That's what we're asking for. 22% of our people to come home. So if you're one of them people that just can't see yourself living in the South, that's fine. Share the strategy to someone else. So
That's
maybe
right.
someone else want to come. You don't have to provide opposition for it, because what we're going to do is going to benefit you anyway, wherever you're at. You understand? So please understand the strategy, understand the information, and if you don't believe in it, just pass the information along. Don't get in the way. Just pass that information along to someone who will. And remember, this is a 20-year plan that we want to see done and to fruition. We want to get that 22% to return to the South by the latest 20 years. We want to have at least a 22% return back to the South by our 44 that live outside of the South to come back home. We need that 22% to come back home. If you're a teacher, there's education that needs to be had down South. If you're a nurse, there's nursing that need to be done. If you're a truck driver, you can set up truck driving hubs and work together. There's so many possibilities, more possibilities that live up north. This myth that up north is such a great life is bullshit. You understand? It's a lot of Martin Luther King saw
Out
it
west,
when he went up there.
wherever.
Out west.
That's right.
Y'all have been running around in these circles talking about the studies and all the data. All the data to show you the wealth position of our people, the income inequality, the wealth gap. All over our people are suffering like hell in California right now. Our people are suffering like hell in California right now with the cost of living, the poverty situation out there. You understand? We have so many reasons to leave. You understand? You can't really tell me any real intelligent reason to stay. Just that you like it, that like you like going to the beach. Well, come here, get some real wealth, live a better quality of life, and then go vacation out there.
Let me ask you a question, Brother Logic and Brother Naheem. What do you think are the prospects of black voters electing and being the primary voting base that elects a black senator in, let's just say, New York, the state of New York, the state of Illinois,
not happening,
the state of California,
not
the
happening,
state of Pennsylvania,
not happening,
you know what I mean, state of New Jersey, the state of all of these states. And the reason why I say they need to be the ones that elect them is because you don't want to get too far out of line to where your voting base doesn't like what you're saying, and then they decide they don't want to reelect you. So I'm not talking about, like, for example, let's just say, and this is talking about Cory Booker. Were black folks the majority of the population that voted him in office?
No, I don't think so, and not in New Jersey.
See,
right.
he may have gotten. See, this is what people get confused. He may have gotten the majority of the black vote, but it wasn't the black vote that was the majority.
That's what I'm getting at.
Vote that
That's
got
what I'm
him
getting
into
at.
office.
That's what I'm getting at. So when it's time to do certain things, you can't go but so far, because if you piss off an electorate that may not want to do certain quote unquote black things, then they'll just say, all right, well, we're not going to reelect you, and if you don't have imagine not having a group of states. Imagine having a group of states that all believe the same thing,
That's right. That's right.
So you're talking about the compare and contrast from being a tie-breaking voting block and a majority voting block. See, we're talking about real political power. See, if you're just a tie-breaking group, you're going to get what we've been getting all the time. You're going to get the lies and the say what you want to hear during election time, kiss babies type politics. Because I don't really have to be accountable to you. I just need to make you feel good and make you feel like I'm on your side during the election cycle. Then I can go work for my true constituency, which is actually my winning coalition. See, we're not nobody's winning coalition. You understand? But if we can go and turn these states who are close to majorities right now, state majorities, and we can go be the majority there, now we are the winning coalition. You have to come talk to us. So it's like when you go, when the presidents, for example, when they go to places like New Hampshire and when they go to real important states, right, like Iowa, they're talking to states that are like 90% white. They're talking to the winning coalition. So whatever I want, if I live in one of them states, don't matter. They not talking to me. They talking to the winning coalition. And I get whatever the hell I'm fortunate enough to get out of that political exchange. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have nothing. But if they come to Mississippi and we can turn Mississippi to 67% our people, they got to, everything they talk about got to be about what we want.
That's right.
Because we got what they need. You know what I'm saying? You give us what we want, we give you what you need. We'll deliver you. Baby. Now we can deliver you Mississippi. Do you want Mississippi or not? Because you can go talk to all, if we got 67% of the state, you can go talk to all the white people you want. They not going to deliver you the win. We going to deliver it to you.
That's right. Come talk to us, presidential candidates. You got to come directly to us. So let's start pulling up some of these articles, man, real quick. This is all right. This is in Los Angeles. I'm kind of putting the emphasis on Los Angeles, man, and it came from when we did the interview with when they were the group formerly known as ADOS Los Angeles. You know, shout out to Sister Friday, Sister Tiffany, Brother Chad, Brother Marcus. And I pulled up the numbers, our numbers out there, and I pulled it up right before we did the live stream, and I was astonished by how few people we have on the West Coast. So much so that we are just being outnumbered. We're being drowned out. We're getting clan treatment from Hispanic gangs out there. They're throwing Molotov cocktails through our homes out there. The police officers out there are racist Hispanics as well. Like, we just got to call a spade a spade. So Sister Cynthia shared this earlier, and this is what she was talking about in the chat. This is from the Los Angeles Times. KKK flyers, White Lives Matter rally, Huntington Beach confronts storm of hate, right? And, you know, I'm not going to read the article, but this is not Mississippi. This is not Alabama, Georgia. This is Los Angeles, where our numbers are already thin. Now, let's just say we were in Mississippi. If 700,000 of us did migrate back to Mississippi, and they, like we were saying on the last episode, we not scared of these people. And we've come to see over the years that they're more scared of us. They've always been more scared of us. That's why they always move in the mob mentality. One-on-one, like, we just got to be honest, man. Unless they like really souped up and about that like natural mano a mano, and I'm just keeping it official. They ain't got no wins. They don't have no wins, right? But, you know, and I had to throw that in there. But this is Los Angeles, fam. This is out in California, I should say, Huntington Beach. This is supposed to be a bastion of liberalism. In New York, it's the same thing. You're gonna get the same type of stuff. So,
let me, before you go to that, let me
brother.
just say this, in addition to what you just provided, right? Even if you look at California, in the history of California race relations, and like you had like from the Watts riots to the covenant deeds and the redlining out there to the birth, it's really known for like police brutality. Like that was the birthplace, that was the cradle of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and then like the Rodney King situation, like, so we see the type of treatment our people getting and have been getting in California. Huey P. Newton said that his father moved them from Louisiana to California thinking that they was going to have a better chance at life. And they caught the same, if not greater rate. He said it was equal and greater to the racism that they was fighting and had been in Louisiana. He said, in fact, right, the political racism was equal or greater, but the economic poverty, he said, we left Louisiana to come to California in pursuit of greater economics, but we had more than what we had. We had more in Louisiana than what we had when we was in California. But you didn't know it until you got there. They went from having a home with some land to living in an apartment when you had roaches and you had stuff like that going on, right? Because you don't understand the different dynamics. And if you look at Minnesota and what just happened out there with the George Floyd situation, if you look at New York with all the notorious police brutality history out of there, you look at Chicago with just the amount of political and state corruption. We've had more governors, I think, get sentenced to prison than any other state that I can think of right off the bat. So now what we're talking about, so I know we had Ahmaud Arbery's situation down here, which was like a modern day lynching of some white vigilantes who wanted to do vigilante justice, or just they felt like hanging a nigga and killing a nigga at the time, right? What we're saying is if we have the majority of the state, you can't do that. You can't get away with that. Why you can't get away, right? Because it's them having the majority that monopolizes patronage and nepotism, right? So if we have the majority, now we control the governor, right? The governor controls the state police department, you understand? And the National Guard. So we had that. Look at that. Just think about that. If you can get a governor, you have taken control of two major departments, the National Guard and the state police department. Now, not only that, now we're going all the way to, if we're the majority, we are designing what criminal justice looks like in our state by way of our vote through all the elected positions, from the attorney general, right, to the Supreme Court justice, all of them in our state, right? We control that. This is the power of being the majority, and this is what they have been scared of ever since emancipation, is being ruled by what they called a Negro majority. This is what we're going to give them. That's is right. The political consequence.
That's right.
You understand? Giving them that majority. So with all that nepotism and all that patronage, which working with our family to secure these political offices and positions, now we control the jobs that come with that. The state jobs and the state contracts, the city jobs and the city contract. It's all tied together, family.
One more thing to note, and Josh, jump in at any time, but I want to pull this up. We got to pull this up. A new report we've touched on this on Be the Power over the past year several times. Even if we haven't pulled up the article, we've always referenced the shockingly high number of our people who are homeless in Los Angeles. A new report highlights the shocking racial disparity among LA's homeless population. This is from the Los Angeles magazine. There's several articles on it in the I think the New York Times has articles, the Los Angeles Times have articles on it. It says Black people make up only 8% of LA County's population, but 42% of homeless Angelenos are Black. 8%. And out of that 8%, 42% of them are homeless. Remember, Blow in this book, and I wish I knew the exact page, talked about how in San Francisco, we made up, I think it was 5% of the population, but I could be quoting these numbers wrong, but 45% of the people incarcerated. There's a war against us. And we're not looking at it. We're looking at it wrong. We're looking at it through this lens of these liberal cities that we think are good, that we think are better than the South. The South has become this boogeyman to us. And for all intents and purposes, that's probably what they wanted. But we don't have that fear now. We're being mistreated. And Josh, I want you to come in after this, but I want to read from page 104. I want to read page 103, 104. He says this. He's talking about these black cities, right? And he says, not all of these cities, he names a bunch of them that have black police chiefs in the South. You know, he's basically highlighting the fact that, you know, you got these black chiefs of police in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Jackson, Montgomery, Birmingham, Macon, Savannah, Athens, Columbia, North Charleston. I've met the brother in Athens. Shook his hand, got pictures with him. Charlotte, Raleigh, Norfolk, Richmond, and Baltimore. He says, not all of these cities have majority black police forces, but many have achieved an extraordinary level of diversity. Conversely, the percentage of black officers and police forces in many destination cities is often shockingly low, and the percentage of white officers is out of sync with their percent of the population. In 2013, only 32.9% of the population of New York City was white, but 52.2% of the police force was. Notice, in all things good or things that represent power, whether it's police, military, economics, the whites are always larger than their proportion of the population. For us, it is the exact opposite. It says in Chicago, 32% of the population was white, but 52.1% of the police force was. In Philadelphia, 36.3% of the population was white, but 56.8% of the police force was. In many of these cities, there exists a profound disconnect between those doing the policing and those being policed, each being somewhat foreign to the other. And in that gap grows fear, mistrust, and mercilessness. This can have disastrous consequences. Researchers at Texas A&M University analyzed randomly dispatched 911 calls and found that while white and black officers, quote, use gun force at similar rates in white and racially mixed neighborhoods, white officers are 5 times as likely to use gun force in predominantly black neighborhoods. This is where I grew up at. He's talking about places where I grew up at. Where I grew up at in New York is like Chicago. It's like Philly. It's like the other cities that he named on here that well, maybe it was just Philly and Chicago and New York. Yeah, it was. So like that, those are basically the peas in the pod right there. I've been brutalized by NYPD, beat down by cops, sparked a whole riot. We had a whole riot out in Hamels Projects, Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. Like for real. So yeah, white cops, all of them there that night on that New Year's was white cops, and they had me in the building. I was trying to get up. I said if I could just get on my feet, I'm knocking 3 of these dudes out. They wouldn't let me get up, and my boys was outside the building. And one of my dude's older brother scooped the cop up from behind, slammed him on his head, and chaos ensued. And I'm just saying, like I lived through that. There was this racist cop by the last name of Rivera. It was crazy. He was a white cop with the last name of Rivera that was raping. He was a man raping the dollar van drivers in Far Rockaway, Queens, raping them. We was out there protesting. We set it on the cops. We was out there. I don't want to say me and implicate. I'm just saying, right? But these are the battles that we had in the 90s that our people in the South were going through in the 60s with King. You see what I'm saying? So, like, we got to start the process of reverse engineering our thinking. These places that we're from, the New York, Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, Compton, whatever, they've never been good for us. They just produce hotbeds of crime because there's limited resources. So the only thing we have left is to turn on each other. You go to a place where we can produce, and then a different outcome will come about it. Go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead. All right, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, man, my bad. My phone died. Is my audio coming in all right? Because it
Yeah,
was
you
kind of
good.
choppy.
You good.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, man. When I start thinking about this whole thing, I just want to echo something you said. Those folks that have disagreements with the strat or I don't even know if we can say disagreements, but I would just encourage, first off, go and read the book. Go and get that book, The Devil You Know by Charles Blow. Read the book. Then after you finish reading the book, then if you have some issues, let's talk about them, right? But I don't understand how people want to engage on this issue without educating themselves. That's a key. And I'm not talking about from you can consider yourself as an educated person or you familiar with some statistics. No, go actually and read the work and understand what the plan is talking about. Because then I don't even think we will have the same type of conversation that we would have if you have not read the plan or read the book and understood what we were talking about. Because look, I feel like without just looking back on it, it's already been a lot of us that moved to the South anyway. Where are you at, Naheem?
I'm in Georgia.
Brother Elijah, where you at?
I'm in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay. I mean, I'm in Virginia. I mean, you know what I mean? But I got several family members that were in New York, New Jersey, and other places. Now they in North Carolina, they in Georgia. They in. I got family members that were in
But
California.
all three of us are in return destination states.
That's what I'm saying. And
We're here right now, so we're not.
It was an unconscious thing. You know what I mean?
And so it's not like we're trying to tell the people to do something without any lived experience. I'm telling you, I'm living right here, and
That's right.
And I haven't been. I've been living in Savannah for 3 years. I ain't been camping one time. So people talk about you go to the South and it ain't nothing but the countryside and trees. That's not true. They got shopping malls and outlets and restaurants. Everything that they got up in the north, they got it down here. It just look a little different. But that you can add that when you come here. Whatever you got for your cultural experience, you bring that when you come and you
right.
and you add it. And you
All
add
right, we got.
I want to say one more thing.
Go ahead, and then I want y'all to address this thing I'm gonna pull up. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I want to say this too. Like the beauty about what we're talking about, as opposed to what has already been going on organically, is it's two things, right? Or maybe more than that, but at least two I want to talk about is when you do something that's an intentional act, that is like a mass collective act, then you can educate people on why they're doing it, so it can be a lot more effective. We're talking about like so we can have collective power. That is gonna foster the environment for collaboration, as opposed to people feeling like they're being displaced or it's a kind of cultural clash, and they have misplaced like identity issues or whatever the case may be. No, we're talking about, look, we're coming home. This is a family reunion. We're reuniting the family. We're doing this for the purpose for our collective power, our collective uplift. We're doing this for the purpose of our group survival of the family all around the country. And we're going to build better lives here where we're at together. That's number one. Number two is, see, if you do this as an intentional and collective act, you can do it faster. So even if you feel like, like, I don't know, it's the Chicago culture is a specific culture, the New York culture, the slang and everything. I feel comfortable with that. See, you're not tied to a land. You're tied to like a culture and a people, right? So you're not tied to, most people don't feel necessarily that ties to that brick cold up in the Northeast and that crazy wind in the Midwest, right? That ice cold. You don't love that. You're not in love with that.
That's a
You know what I'm
fact.
saying? You're not
Wait, let me
in
say,
love with that.
Josh. Let me say, when people ask my reasons for moving from New York, one of the main reasons is I just couldn't stand the cold weather anymore. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I got tired of the snow. I got tired of the not feeling my damn fingertips and my toes. Them Timbs only hold up for too long, especially when you out there in them streets. I got tired
Yeah.
of it.
And guess what? If you want a few people that love the cold weather, you can just go visit. You know how you used to go
Mhm.
visit your family down south in the summer. Go ahead and go back and visit the ones that stay in the wintertime since you love it
Go
cold.
make snow
You know?
angels and
Yeah.
And Josh,
I just want to
like
finish
to,
one more thing real quick. Let me finish this. So I want to say with that, the power of moving as a group is you can even move with a bunch of people that's from your culture, your area. You know what I'm saying? And so
mhm,
then
mhm.
you're not feeling like you left your people. No, you move with your people.
That's
Since
right.
you got the New York slang and the New York accent and the New York, whatever things that New Yorkers like, I don't know all of them, but move with your group and you will have your community there of New Yorkers in the South, you know?
yes. And
Go ahead,
and
bro.
to Josh's point, that's called a strategical move, and that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about these just random moves, these spontaneous, let's just pack up everything and don't pay the bills and just leave. No, get you 10 families that want to move, 10 families at a time. Y'all go and y'all get y'all create a 10-year, a 5 to 10 year plan, get your money together, right? Save up that money and then go buy you some. We're going to do another program where I'm going to pull up on Zelle and show you all these crazy plots of land that are for the dirt cheap, that are not crazy, where you gotta drill water and all of that. They're nice. Y'all can go set up a whole nice little community of New Yorkers in the South if that's what you want to do. But
Mhm.
ultimately, what I say to do, right, is to just go where your family is at. You're going to be hard pressed to find some people up north that in the Midwest that don't got no family down south.
That's a
So
fact.
when I go to see my people in Mississippi, there's no clashing of cultures. It's just a family reunion. We don't have any problems getting along because we're
Mhm.
family, right? So my suggestion to the first people who want to strike out and do it, go home. Just go home to where your family's at, and you'll find less problems going home than going somewhere where you don't know anybody.
Indeed. I want to pull up something. And I'm like this, man. You know, when it comes to New York, or I'm I don't need to bring that with me in that regard, man. Like and this is me personally, this is my opinion. I'm moving out of that phase of thinking like I'm from New York. I mean, what is New York? If the Dutch had won, it would be called New Amsterdam. So it was named. I forget how that whole history goes. I believe it was named after the Duke of York or something to that effect. But all of the names in New York, Brooklyn is Dutch, Harlem, Dutch, Queens takes its name from the Queen of England or something like that. The Bronx, if I'm not mistaken, is Dutch. All of these names, these boroughs that we rep, are Dutch. All of these cities and hoods, I believe Compton is named after a white man, I believe, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the housing projects I grew up in, Hamels, was named after a white man. We were representing these blocks. Like, where you from, fam? From more of Jefferson Ave. I'm more of Jefferson Ave. We rep Jefferson Ave. Like, yo, like Thomas Jefferson? You know that's what the avenue is named after, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, we got
You
to
know,
start
hey, Abby, you know what's crazy? See, they played a cold trick on us in Chicago where they named many of the projects after heroes like Ida B. Wells, right? One of
Mm-hmm.
the worst projects you can be in. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they tricked us. You know what I'm saying? Robert Taylor Holmes and things like that, right? So they tricked us by naming it after someone we revered and making it a poverty center. So they tricked us. So we thought we was representing something good. I'm from Ida B. Wells, you know what I'm saying? Because she's a great woman. You know what I mean? But it wasn't a great place. And just to hit another point real quick, we have this back and forth about Chicago and New York all the time. And let me tell you what I love about Chicago. It's not the cold. It's not the violence. It's not all the concrete, right? What I love about Chicago so much is the people and the experiences that I've had while I was there. Now, the people is who I love, right? If you take all the people out of Chicago, what is it but a concrete tomb, right?
That's right.
So we talking about if my people come with me, we can make a Chicago in Mississippi.
That's right.
You can make a Chicago or a New York anywhere because it's the people that make the place, not the place that makes the people. You understand? Right. So we can do this, family.
That's right. You start mixing that culture and that food. Come on, man. You know, and Grim was talking about that one night. I think it was it may have been the after interview. I think we may have been talking about that a week ago. I can't remember. But Grim was talking about how now you got a lot of LA and New York style restaurants popping up in Louisiana. So it blends that, that Louisiana flavoring and food with some food that's more familiar with New York, right? Or in that Northeast area, or the food that's in the West. You see, so
it's happening in Georgia too. They got a JJ's and a Harold's Chicken down there now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and then
wow.
Yeah. And it does. So I think Reed was talking about like the 3 years I've been here. Now, if this is cold to y'all, then I don't know what to tell you.
No.
The 3 years I've been here, it ain't snowed one time. I ain't seen one flake of snow. We ain't had to deal with no black ice. I haven't dealt with no blizzards. One winter, right? And I saw the Lake Michigan with icicles frozen in the sky 6 and 7 feet high.
Yeah.
I don't never want to see nothing like that again. I don't never want to deal with the governor having to call a state of emergency because the polar cap has snapped and it's so cold. Birds are freezing and falling out the sky. Like, that's too cold, man. Georgia ain't got that type of cold.
Look, I've been down here about 13, 12 years now. I think it'll be 13 in September. We've only had one major snowstorm. That was it. I did experience black ice one time out here. I was on my way to work one morning, skidding all over the road. But I mean, it's still so few and far in between that it's not that significant, man. The winters are pretty mild. I barely have to throw on a coat in the winters. It get cold. It'll hit the 30s down here. But once you become acclimated, it's different because it's not the teens in New York.
None of my leathers, none of my pea coats, none of my. I ain't got to wear none of my fly shit because it don't get cold enough for that. And when it does get cold, it don't stay cold long enough. So it's a way better alternative, just climate-wise. Just thinking about the climate out here.
Oh, yeah.
Way better, especially for our older folks, right? Our people who are getting older.
That's right.
Your longevity is going to be extended. And studies have already proven this. You can check the stats. That's why so many people, when they retire, they come to places like Florida, California, Arizona, and places like that, right? But we can do the same thing to Louisiana, Mississippi, and Georgia, and places like that, right? South Carolina, where the weather is nice, and you don't have to worry about being elderly and having to shovel your snow and slip and fall and break.
Did Logic had blinked out? I want to pull this comment up. I've been wanting to pull it up for a second. All right, Robert Reed said. You was kind of breaking up before you went on mute, so I thought you had got cut off. Robert Reed says it also becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. The more black people leave Cali, the more black businesses lose clients and customers. because whites, Asians, and Latinos ain't doing business with them. You want to speak to that, Brother Logic?
Can you read that one more time?
He says the more black people leave Cali, the more black businesses lose clients and customers because whites, Asians, and Latinos ain't doing business with them.
I don't really understand the question. Is he saying?
I don't think he's asking. I think he's making a statement.
Yeah, I don't really understand the accuracy of the statement. Is he suggesting that Latinos and blacks? Like, I really don't get the statement. I don't understand it. Can somebody?
Yeah, Brother Robert Reed,
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I guess what he's trying to say is, like, as we leave, it's gonna snowball, because as we leave, that's then the black business is gonna dry up. They're like, well, shoot, I gotta leave too. You know, I gotta go where my people at, because those are the only people that are patronizing my business.
Okay.
So
okay. All right. So in that perspective, right? If that's what he means, right? It is to the benefit of black businesses to go where the most black folks is at, because don't nobody else fuck with us. You understand? Nobody shops black. So if you're a black business owner, it would be the part of wisdom on the business side of the house to go and position yourself where the most black folks are at. You want to put yourself where the potential is to have the most traffic for your business. And if you're a black business, the best chances of you having the greatest success is to be where the most black folks are at. The most black folks are in the South. That's a mathematical fact. So it's in your own best interest to move your businesses to the South.
Oh yeah. ADOS Root said that's what he's saying, y'all. Okay, I didn't really understand what he was saying, so I'm glad Josh was able to interpret that, because I was kind of confused, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to think about, man. When you think about family coming back together, man. You know, that's one of the main issues that cause the earlier generations of our people to have problems in destination cities. If you think about it, they came without any family support. So you didn't have anybody else to lean on. When you lose your job, you can't, what cousin or uncle or your mama or auntie or whoever, who are you going to lean on? Like who can you stay with? You have to just depend on maybe somebody that you made friends with in your community. You know, I guess that is one good thing that made the community strong, but it was a lot of people who didn't really have nobody to lean on. And then I don't know, man. I just think that anytime you bring in the family closer together, it's a good thing. You know, I'm thinking about myself, even just leaving from my city, my area where most of my family lives is like the Richmond, Virginia area. You know, Central Virginia, and just leaving there, and especially when you're trying to have a family, and you know, you try to think about, well, man, how do I would love for my sister or my brother or my mom or whatever to be able to spend more time with my sons. I would love for my best friends and my people that I'm real tight with to be able to have the kids play together and grow up together and all that. Because these are people that I love. These are people that have shared values, and that's not there when you're away. You know, and so I'm just saying, anytime you're able to build family and put family back together, that is a powerful thing, and you really can't even put a price on being able to do that, and that's just not what's all. And I know a lot of people in destination cities now, they're rooted in those places, and you got family and stuff there. But man, I just man, we gotta make this move, because you think about the reasons why the people fled, our ancestors fled from those places in the South. It was out of a sense of survival. You know what I mean? It was out of a sense of survival. So we have to understand that us returning home, we have to recognize that that is also out of a sense of survival. It's a sense of political survival.
Political survival.
Yeah.
And look, all right, Josh, let me get into that. I want to pull Otis' comment up real quick. He says, what is the percentage of black businesses that hire more than one person? What is the footprint of any black business in California? Minuscule, right? So it goes to the the comment that we pulled up and our commentary on it. Like naturally, you bring your business where you bring your people. Eventually that business is going to flourish. If we stop thinking about this as an overnight thing, then I think we'll see it differently. So I want to pull up two. let me pull this up first, and then I'm going to read something that we should take as dire. We should take as dire. All right. This article, this is from The Guardian. This was published in 2015. It says Asians to surpass Hispanics as largest group of U.S. immigrants by 2065. Foreign-born residents poised to make up a record 18% of 441 million U.S. residents in 50 years' time. Pew reports finds. So this is one of the things I've noticed since about 2012, that they started to cater politically more to the Hispanic population. And the schools that my children went to, it was just basically black and white kids, using those generic terms, of course. Nobody's black and nobody's white. I'll stress that. Nobody is. But anyway, next thing you know, by the time they hit 6th and 7th grade, it's black, white, and Hispanic. Then the next thing you know, when they're calling up the people to get the awards, is almost all the Hispanic kids. Everything is bilingual, damn near. I'm like, okay, now this is something that I'm peeping. I'm looking at the commercials. Listen to the politicians. What did Biden say? What did Biden say when asked about reparations for African Americans? We need to be focusing on and investing in the Hispanics. They are the future of this country. That's what he said. Those were his words. So I want to stop this because I'm not going to read through that. But this next one, this is dire. This is dire. This is dire. All right, because it builds on what this article is talking about. In fact, I'm pretty certain this is where that article was gleaning its information from. Okay, so this was published February 11, 2008. U.S. population projections from 2005 to 2050, which is what that last article spoke about. Overview. If current trends continue, the demographic profile of the United States will change dramatically by the middle of this century, according to new population projections developed by the Pew Research Center. The nation's population will rise to 438 million in 2050 from 296 million in 2005. And fully 82% of the growth during this period will be due to immigrants arriving from 2005 to 2050 and their descendants. And they give you a breakdown, right? And they're showing this rise. So population in millions. So let's look at this. I don't know. Let me see if I can blow this up so y'all can see this graph. Let's see if can y'all see that graph?
Yeah, can I say one thing to that?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
So, for people's understanding, right? I want y'all to know when he's reading out what they're talking about, these projections, right? When they're like, some people are like, well, how do they know that? And how do they know it's going to be this? And how are they tracking this? See, you got to look at it this way, right? They're telling you what they want. Here's another way to look at it. They're telling you what they want.
Logic.
Working on it to bring this to a reality. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just came back in. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, I was just saying that a better way to look at these projections are goals that they're setting. That will give you the right mindset when you look at these numbers. These are the political goals that they're looking for. So they're saying that this is what they want. They're not telling you that this is what they want, but they're telling you based on the agendas that they're running down, this is what they want. They do not want us to be a majority anywhere. And if they're saying they're on track to create certain pathways, and you see the pathways are the result of the policies. You see them giving money to illegal aliens right
That's
now.
right.
You see them talking about, you got the whole DACA situation. These are long plans, carefully calculated plans to bring about these results. They're saying that these are the results they're working on for the future. That's what they're telling you. So you don't have to trust the accuracy of the census data or the Federal Reserves, but you can trust that this is their agenda because they're showing it to you by way of policy.
That's right. Now let's look at this chart, family. Table 1, U.S. population, actual and projected. On the left side, we see 2005. On the right side, we see 2050. Population in millions. So in 2005, 296 million. By 2050, they are projecting 438 million. So now let's look at share of total. Foreign born, which means people that will migrate, right? In 2005, it was 12%. In 2050, they're looking at 19% of people that are foreign born who will migrate to the United States of America. So now we break it down by racial ethnic groups. So the white population in 2005 is at 67%. But by 2050, it'll be at 47%. Hispanic will be at 14%, is at 14% in 2005. By 2050, they project 29%. Black, 13%. By 2050, still 13%. We're not growing. The only people that have a number that's shrinking is the white group. Wait, real quick, Josh. Let me just do the Asians. Asians is at 5%, and by 2050, they'll be at 9%. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Well, I just want to say, and it says black. It's not saying descendants of freedmen.
That's right.
So if we were able to show that number, obviously you can't import any more descendants of freedmen, and
that's right.
Due to abortion rates and all that kind of stuff, our numbers there's no real factors that's making our numbers increase. So we know that what they're saying is, with the black immigrant population coming in, it's allowing the total black number to stay afloat, instead of if they show our population, it will be in a decrease as far as percentage.
That's an excellent point.
In addition to that, right, another way to understand this thing, right? So what they're telling you is, we're going to make sure that we keep your percentage the same. So don't look at it as like, oh, we just need to have more babies, right? Because you can't even keep up with what they're doing, because they're creating through policy a way to import sectors of the population. They're importing these numbers, family. They're getting these numbers from other countries and bringing them here. They're creating. You can't. I don't care how active you are. You can't have babies fast enough to keep up with the importation policies. So they're. I'm calling it important because it's human resources, right? They're using them for human political resources. So they're importing these numbers. These are people who are coming here. It's not the people who are living here and they're just out reproducing us. These are not based on reproduction numbers alone. They're based on the policies that have created pathways to import the numbers that they want.
And let me say another thing too about the comments you just put up. I'm gonna just make a correction on that. We don't need, if you look at the projections, look like as far as Hispanics, probably the states that are going to have the largest influx, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm just kind of going off of what makes the most sense. The states that are going to have the largest influx of Hispanic residents is going to be probably Texas, and those southwestern states, and of course, California is also going to be one of them. And one of the main reasons, obviously, is just because those states share a border on Mexico. They're border states to Mexico. So it will be natural for those states to have the largest influx of largest growth of the Hispanic population. So with that being said, and also California with Asians. So with that being said, it wouldn't make sense. Oh, I gotta say Florida as well. Florida as well. So that being said, it doesn't make sense for us to call for our people to migrate to Texas or Florida because there's the amount of people that it would take pulling from elsewhere to get to those states to get a majority. We would have to like forfeit several other states for us to move to, like combined. So if you look at it in terms of congressional power, it wouldn't make sense because you only get 2 senators for the state of Texas and 2 senators for the state of Florida, whereas you can get like you would be taking away from, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, or 6 states to try to get the numbers you need for that.
Your audio is chopping up, brother Josh.
Okay. Well, basically, is it all right now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, I'm saying if you look at the numbers from Texas and Florida, they have around nearly 8 million black folks, or over 7.5 million black folks. If you put those numbers, we can never get a numerical majority there in both of those states. So it would make sense actually for black folks to move from those states to the other states where we can get some power.
Indeed. Now,
both of those states are importing at higher rates than we can do
that's
destination return. You can't compete with trying to relocate our small numbers to outpace Mexican immigration in Texas and Cuban, Dominican, Haitian, and all that into Florida. We just can't compete with that. So we should, that tactically it just doesn't make sense tactically to try to take majority numbers in those 2 particular states because we're being outpaced by immigration in those 2 states.
That's right. Hey, leave it up to me. And Josh basically asked Charles Blow that question about Florida and Texas. He said he want black people to move from any state that is not in his 9-state plan. And it makes sense to me. You move the people from Texas on over to Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama and up out of Florida into Georgia and South Carolina and some of Louisiana and some of Alabama. I mean, look, man, this thing is doable. We got to, let's look at what we have up on the screen right now. This is within that 30-year window. Think about 2050. Not only do our population not grow, and Josh brought up an excellent point about the descendants of free, because we don't know what if that number, that 13% is not disaggregated. We don't know what number of that 13% is us, those of us that have blood and bone in this soil, who have ancestors who were enslaved here. We don't know what that number is because that can be just immigrants representing that 13%, black immigrants from the islands or from mainland Africa, right? But the median wealth of black Americans, well, we know who that is. That's us. That's us, the descendants of freedmen. Median wealth of black Americans will fall to 0. Not only are these other groups going to surpass us, we're not going to, the middle is already 1,700 at the middle now. And who knows what's going on because of COVID, where we're at. But by 2053, we're going to be at 0. This is the same projection that all of these other groups will surpass us at. We won't be able to afford to live here. We will become like a servant class to people that came after. Think about that, family. All of their political power is going to be centralized in their locales. They're going to be able to get everything done that they want done while ignoring us. Alexandria, man, I want to pull up this video by AOC. Y'all go ahead. I got to pull this up.
Yeah,
Y'all
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to say, even when we look at, if we, okay, now giving an account of everything we just talked about, even if you look at the black immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa, right, and you know, the Afro Latinos, right, even if you look at them, if we make the move that we're making now, they don't really, they have to really come to us now, because the reason why they're able to have these type of political and economic successes is because due to the fact that they can melt into our group. But if our group leaves in a major way and concentrates themselves to become state majorities, now they have to come to our states to get anything politically. And now they have to come up underneath us. Everything will be in its proper order because now we control the politics of that state. So they're there being the token class of the underclass, right? The quote unquote minority class, right? Because they're able to melt into us because we got the look. We all look the same, but they're able to go and get all of the cream of the political pot, right? But those opportunities cease to exist if we relocate ourselves. Now they can't have that same impact the way that they have it now.
Yeah. And
So,
sister, what was the sister Nature's Own or what? Nature? I can't remember the
Nature's
name.
Brew
Sister. Yeah, Nature's
in
Brew. I
the
said
chat.
Nature's Own. That's the bread. Yeah. Hey, I want to say to the people that love the cold weather or whatever, go ahead, just move to Maryland. Then Maryland and Northern Virginia, we get cold. It's cold. We get
That's a
cold up
fact.
here for real.
It
So
does get cold. That is a fact.
yeah.
All right, so look, this is what I want to do. Let's play real quick before we get up out of here. Like, I want to drive home this point. And Charles Blow drove that home in the interview about, they're going to be voting their issues. They care about them. The problem is they don't care about us. And watch this. We're going to prove this. This is AOC. Listen up, y'all.
By the way, those families are owed reparations, period.
Now, this is her talking about the families at the border that had got their, the babies ripped from their arms as they're claiming, et cetera, et cetera. So now let's check this out.
Right. Which is a number that I think shocks a lot of people. But if you include white Hispanics, it actually is that big, who often vote similarly to non-Hispanic whites. What as a political cost, let's say, of saying we're going to throw your hat in with a program like reparations, how much do you think those considerations should be made?
Well, it's a good question. I think that one of the things that we've seen from early polling actually is that I think that we should distance ourselves and start getting away from this idea that we should only care about ourselves. Because when we really do start to assert and believe in.
So hold on, y'all. Hold on. And on the one hand, it's Hispanic people, her people, they deserve reparations. Oh, reparations for black people. I think we should get out of only thinking about ourselves. This is the Obama line she's repeating right here. Let me continue.
Understand and see how our destinies are tied. We kind of get away from this idea that only people of color care about other people of color and only white people care about other white people and so on. There are a lot of systems that we have to dismantle, but also it does get into this interesting area of where we are as a country about identity, because what does it mean to be Black? Who is Black and who isn't, especially as our country becomes more biracial and multiracial. Same thing with being Latino, same thing. It brings up all these questions of passing and, things like that. But I do think it is important that we have to have substantive conversations about race beyond what is racist and what is not. And if someone says something racist, does that make them racist? We need to get away from talking. Well, not that we have to get away from talking about racism. It's important that we talk about racism, but because we talk about racism so much, we actually aren't talking about race itself.
I'm sorry, I gotta laugh. This, first and foremost, she said a bunch of nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say that was a bunch of
She
nonsense right
said
there.
a
That
bunch
was a
of
airburst,
nothing. She wove, yo, like AOC is trash, man.
Let's
When it comes to
let's
yeah, but look, when it comes to Hispanics and Latinos, you're specific. You know who needs what, and you called it reparations. But when it comes to black people, you don't know who is black. So if a sister walked up to you that was looked like me, same skin complexion, and smacked the fire out of you, I'm gonna use a graphic this example, and you gave the police report, you're going to say it was a black woman that slapped me. They're going to say, describe her. She was a black woman about this tall, yay big, wearing this or wearing that. You're not, you don't know who a black person is then.
Yeah, or if it
yo,
was
so
my ancestors, she would say the same thing.
so then look, right? The more okay, that type of stuff is like political filler, right? What is the real important takeaway that I got out of those two videos is they made very specific, very important specific comments. One, the one lady talked about how the Latino vote and
Yo, Logic. Well, I'm gonna go in until he comes back in. I think his audio went out, but you know, it's ridiculous when you look at and listen to what she did there. She just said a bunch of nothing, and it's the same political grandstanding that we get over and over and over and over again from these politicians that pretend to be progressive. You're not a progressive. Progressivism grew out of the radical Republicans during Reconstruction. Progressive means that you wanted to free the slaves, or I should say meant that you wanted to free the slaves. Progressive meant that you wanted to implement Special Field Order number 15, pass House Resolution 29, and I think that was 1867. That's what progressive meant. Fixing the people that you broke. Their form of progressivism is something else. It's not progressive. Their form of progressivism is the only thing that's anti-neo-Confederate or conservative. And that's it. That's what being a progressive is.
all right, I had fell off. I got a phone call. I just wanted to say this, right? So they highlighted how the majority of the quote unquote Latina or Hispanic vote mirrors the white vote, right? Policy wise, they vote for the same kind of things white folks vote for. And if you look at the marriage where she talked about this connected destiny, I don't know what she's talking about, right? Because if you look at the political destiny, the Hispanic platform and program doesn't include our people. And if you look at the way that they marry, look at who her boyfriend is right now. It's not. Look at who her boyfriend is right now, right? They're tying their destiny into white folks. They're not tying there's no connected destiny with us, the freedmen. They're trying to, they want to keep us around, and they want to talk nice enough that right now in this moment that they really don't control the swing vote all the way to keep as many of us appeased that we can be nice enough to them to be tricked into that type of rhetoric and lock arms with them. But we should know better than that by now. What they do is like what everyone else does. They use us as a launching pad so they can take over the quote unquote minority. What we have to start thinking about is forget being the number one minority. We're going to use radical federalism and start producing state majority populations. That way we don't got to worry about being a minority in the country because we control the politics where we live. We control our states. And as long as we have the states, y'all can have as many minorities as you want. We are the majority in the states that we choose to locate ourselves and position ourselves in. And then we kill that part. And they can run around in Florida and wherever they want. But if they come to Mississippi or South Carolina or Georgia or Alabama, they got to come see us because we'll be the ones carrying power.
Facts. Brother Josh, you had anything to add to that?
Nah, bro.
Oh, all right, all right. So, I just wanted to pull that up. I just wanted to show, like this, everybody is getting help. Really, except us. We're still being placed at the bottom of the barrel. Look at this. $2.1 billion for undocumented workers signals New York's progressive shift. Here we go, using that word progressive again. Undocumented workers. That another way of saying illegal immigrant. It's another way of saying it. What does that mean? Undocumented.
They use that term progressive, and it's a trick word, right? And that's the same thing. They got this term that they're throwing around now. Me and Brother Ibrahim talked about this term they got called progressive prosecutors. That does not always have a positive connotation with it. That doesn't mean that that's something positive because they call something progressive. If you have progressive cancer, is that positive? Right? No. That's what these policies are. They're cancer for us. And these so quote unquote progressive policies are tumors on the state of the freedmen people. And we have to cut that off like gangrene. You understand? We have to cut that off. I don't care about progressive prosecutors and progressive Democrats because they're not leading and advocating and pushing policies that lead to progress for our people.
That's right. And I mean,
Yeah, we gotta get into this right here, bro. Go
yeah,
ahead,
you see,
scroll and get into this. Yeah.
I mean, look at it. I mean, the fund, which could provide payments to hundreds of thousands of people excluded from other pandemic relief, ignited a battle among state lawmakers before it was approved this week. So basically, they're saying these people didn't get, and they're old. So let's give them, even though they're not citizens, 15,000.
Yo, that is crazy. 15,600, the equivalent of $300 a week every single week. What? So, like, we are not advocates for reparations coming from the states and cities and things like that for slavery and Jim Crow as in totality, because we know that the total budgets of states are only about $3 trillion and we want a baseline element, the baseline element of a reparations program to be closing a racial wealth gap, and that's going to require around $850,000 or $900,000 or higher at the minimum, per household. You know what I mean? So we know that states don't really have the budget to do that. But outside of calling it a reparations program, we can call it something else. We don't. It doesn't have to be reparations. But look at the money. Essentially, New York has said we need to pay reparations to these people because they weren't citizens and they couldn't qualify for unemployment. So we need to pay them reparations. That's essentially what
let me read this. Let me read this. It says, when the coronavirus arrived in New York City a year ago, it hit enclaves of undocumented immigrants with the fury, killing thousands and wiping out service and construction jobs that kept many families afloat. Let's stop right there. Being from New York City and knowing how hard it is, especially when you come from the hood and you're looking for a good quality job, man, just trying to get out of the life. Just get out of the life. And I know, because I've been there. We was riding around the whole New York City on coalitions because they refused to hire us. So we had to debo our way onto construction sites and be like, yo, we putting 2 men here or we putting 3 men here and y'all going to pay them. And they was paying us. until the city, the contractors did something with the state's legislators in the cities or whatever. I can't remember. It's been so long. And they eventually ended what we called the coalitions, right? So now you got undocumented people coming over here, illegal immigrants, taking jobs from the citizens that lived there. This is why I say, so let's get out of New York, family. Let's get out of there. From the citizens that kept many of their families afloat. Our families are on the streets, succumbing to the poverty produced by America itself. Filling up, well, Rikers Island is, I think, is shut down now, but filling up the prison systems in New York City. Well, let me finish reading. It said lifelines like unemployment insurance and federal stimulus checks were out of reach because undocumented people are eligible for most government aid. Instead, they relied on food pantries, lenient landlords, and loans from friends. Let's stop right there. Highest unemployment numbers in any state in the nation collectively is going to be Black people, our people. So they didn't qualify for unemployment insurance if they didn't have a job. That's number one. In New York, if you owed any arrears on child support, and I know this personally, if you owed any arrears on child support, that first $1,200, they took it. They took that. Now, you got people that have nothing who now may have to force themselves to find or pick up some little job that's still open, maybe in the city, force themselves to get on the train or just get from point A to point B just to get something, catch corona, and possibly die. Because our people were dying in New York City in droves. It says, but after sweeping moves by lawmakers this week, New York will now offer one-time payments of up to $15,600 to undocumented immigrants who lost work during the pandemic. The effort, they lost work. You got a people that can't find jobs in New York City. And I'm talking about our people, the descendant of freedmen. They won't hire them. They won't hire them. New York City is a very, very racist place.
Bro,
it says
can
the
I speak
effort,
to that? Go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, let me just finish it off and you can come in. The effort of $2.1 billion funding the state budget is by far the biggest of its kind in the country and the sign of the state's shift towards policies championed by who? Progressive Democrats. Who? Progressive Democrats. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We don't have nobody in the House to stand up in the House and point this stuff out and speak full-throated to reparations. Period. Yeah, go ahead, Josh. I'm about to get on my soapbox. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, bro. This made me think about my uncle, who passed right before Corona hit in December 2000 and November, at the end of November 2019, and I went to his funeral in December that year. And at the funeral, that was the first time when I learned about his story of how he had a TV repair business on Sugar Hill in Harlem for most of his life, right? And he had told his daughter-in-law, like in his later years, that story, and he had never told his sons or anything, but he told his daughter-in-law, and she told us at the funeral. But the thing is, he had an electrical engineering degree. This was like, I want to say like in the 50s. And he moved to New York, to Harlem, because he was trying to work on, the projects that they had in, for building up the buildings and all those construction projects. They need electricians and stuff. But he couldn't get in. It was racism in the workers union that denied him from being able to access that. So, after being, defeated or whatever, he just said, I'm just going to use my skill, open up a TV repair shop in Harlem. But obviously he didn't make the money he would have made, and if he would have had that path for him in that field. Now, where's the reparations for that? Where that's a generational wealth, robbing wealth, of when you talk about accumulating income and taking that and moving that into something else. Like where's the reparations for that? That wasn't a pandemic of a small little virus or whatever. That was the virus of racism, in New York City. So now let's juxtapose that, right? Let's just say they're looking to use illegal immigration work and all of that to politically and economically disable us in a lot of these destination cities and states like New York. Think about what that labor represents. It represents a market for labor where you can get below market value wages that you have to pay. That reduces the business cost. So, because a lot of people say, well, black folks don't want to do them jobs anyway. No, black folks will work. The deal is we don't want to work for below market. Why should we have to work for below market value? You know what I mean? And that's what illegal immigration labor oftentimes represents. Now, what happens if, let's just say, we move to the South and we get control down there? Well, there ain't finna be no illegal immigrant labor that's gonna be getting rid of, because we're gonna be in control. So we have a better grip on not only the state politics and local politics and the enforcement of that policy, but we will be able to send people to Congress who will be charged with making sure our wishes are carried out on the national level too.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, look, we wanted to get on here and we wanted to speak to some of the conversation that was happening on Twitter about this back home strategy in the South, so we wanted to clear up some of the confusion. Like I said, a brother put out a tweet, and we wanted to address that. And I was hoping that we could drive the point home by using the data and the statistics that we've all come to be familiar with over the past couple years to show. And Charles Blow also does an excellent job in his book. Somebody said, all right, y'all converted me. I'm just saying, hey, if you can't do it, then, but we got to think about where we're going to be at in 50 years, man. No, forget 50 years, in 30 years. We got to think about our children and our grandchildren. We are in a position where we are powerless. And every election cycle that goes by, we grow more and more powerless. I don't know if that's a proper phrase, more and more powerless. I don't know. Anyway.
It works.
It works, right? But
or you could say less and less powerful, but more
less and less powerful. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, brother John.
But to say less and less powerful, we already power
right
now. You know what I mean? So
the only power we have is to serve as a tiebreaker. We got to get Clyburn out of South Carolina. Like, we got to start now strategically making moves. See, we not just coming on here to be YouTubers. Those people trying to say we was grifters. We don't get no money like that, family. At the end of the day, we are trying to come with a political education and a political strategy to move us forward. Period. Yeah. Where they at though? Where they at though? Because when major stuff happened, ain't nobody gonna have to call for us. Where was BTP? Because Josh was at the hearing, the HR 40 hearing. You were at the Byron Allen joint as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep, you was there as well. And you were just at the reparations rally in Washington, D.C. in February.
Yeah, I wish we had the tape on that.
Yeah, so
I ain't gonna speak on that, but yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
you know,
Cato was there. Cato was there. Shout out to Cato.
yeah, man. Like, so now we gotta start being we gotta start being in these places where June 18th, family, don't forget the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. We will be having a reparations rally at the state capitol in Atlanta, Georgia. Like it's time to make moves. It's no more just sitting behind this screen and talking. We ain't got no action to put behind it. Then we are just blocks of wood that's standing on a corner with a wooden arm pointing a certain way that we're not going ourselves. Now, we're not doing that over here. We didn't get into this for that. It's time for some action. So, you know, and that's a challenge to us all. It's a challenge to us all to get out there and do your work. I don't care if we disagree, if I don't rock with you, et cetera, et cetera. You got work to do. The work does not come from sitting behind your camera all the time. The work got to consist of boots on the ground action, period. Period. We are in a dire situation right now. We need to start mobilizing in places like South Carolina. We have to send a clear message. Let's get Clyburn up out of there. No more kingmakers to put in office a man just so he could pass a whole bunch of legislation for a whole bunch of other people outside of the people that put him in office. We're not going to do that anymore. So, brothers, if y'all have any last words before we get up out of here.
Yeah, I would say don't fight the power, be the power. Government is the game and politics is how it's played. And don't settle for being able to swing the vote, be able to carry the vote. State power, radical federalism.
That's right. That's right. Brother Josh.
Yeah. Hey, the time is now. The time is now. We need to be making plans to make those moves now. Like and don't wait. I mean, a lot of information that's out here is available at the tip of your fingers. You know, you can go right on Google, you can go right on your laptop or or your phone and just search this stuff, the information to figure out like where, and we're going to do a lot of this work, but I'm just saying nobody has to wait. You know, at the end of the day, we're talking about a collective strategy for others, but it's also going to have ramifications to benefit the individual. So individuals need to go and just start going, look and see what what you can do. Like if you're outside of the South, maybe you want to start going looking at property. Maybe you want to go and start looking at the cost for rent there. Maybe you want to look at how much you might need to save. Maybe you want to look at calling some of your family members and getting some information. Maybe you want to talk to your family members, get your family members down south to read this book. So you know we need a group that's a push out of these cities so people can start moving together. And we also need people that are in these places to get more of the people that are in power, like these mayors of the cities and places like that, to sweeten the pot, to go and help incentivize. My family members need help to move over here, so give them some more help. Like give them. We I don't think we brought up that Natchez, Mississippi, $2,500 joint. Did we talk about that already?
No.
Okay, we probably talk about that on
Yeah,
a future
we'll talk
program.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an incentive for folks to want to move. Like, get your family members involved, because we need folks in the South not just say come home, but get your people that are in power politically to start sweetening the pot to make it to where we can facilitate this move. You know, that's another key part of this too. So with that, peace, y'all.
Peace. Man, this is the second person, maybe even the third person that said that our Patreon link is down. So I'm going to fix that. But, you know, we just, like I said, we just wanted to come on here, have a little pop-up, build with the family, we got to keep, we got to keep ourselves motivated. And that's a part of what the conversation is about. That part I don't mind doing at all. I don't mind doing that at all. The things that motivate us, right? Using our words, using our platforms, et cetera, to get that done. But outside of that, it's time for some action. And, for the people for the brother that made the tweet, I hope you're watching it. Like I said, we ain't get on here to try to go at you or nothing like that. It wasn't about that. But we got to start moving more strategically. And if we start thinking correctly, we can save ourselves. And we have several blueprints that you can't build without looking over the blueprint, family. You got to read the blueprint. Don't say, it's a bad idea if you haven't read the blueprint. And that goes to everybody that clicked like on that tweet. That don't make no sense. If you have your own personal thing against the move, then that's your personal thing. But if you could make more sense, we invite you to come on Be the Power one of these days with your idea that will give us a better pathway to political power than the one that's presented by Charles Blow in this book, and those who may have written this plan out years ago that never got it into the mainstream. It's not that we're excluding you. It's just that we know about this plan. We've never known about your plan. And like I said, I'm not calling the southern states Appalachia. It's just not happening. We're going to call it Georgia and whatever the names of the states are. I mean, if we want to come up with a nickname, it's going to be based on our American experience. I believe that's how it should go. That's how it should go anyway. So I'll leave y'all with the motto of the platform, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.